Hey there, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Friday Night Spotlight, brought to you by 911 Air Repair, your local air conditioning expert specializing in maintenance, repair, and new installations. We are still in playoff mode. Last week we mentioned we had Combs on a bye week. Combs is playing this week, and they are being joined by another Pinal County team. Of the ones that played last week, Florence is the only one that made it through in a tremendous upset against number 4 Thatcher. Tremendous as far as seedings go, but it was kind of expected going off of what happened during the regular season. Now for the Gophers, they get another rematch from the regular season. They will be at number 5 Tucson Pusch Ridge. And these two teams played back in September with Pusch Ridge winning 39-27. David, what are you thinking on this game?
Last week we talked about the game against Florence and Thatcher could have some upset potential, and I still think that kind of rings a little bit true in this one. Push Ridge is the defending state champions, but they're not the same team that they were last year. They were a dominant team last year. They were, beating teams left and right, but Florence is able to put up a good fight, especially in that regular season game. So this could be the same scenario for them. I think Florence has a really good game plan about them, and going off of the game last week, head coach Mike Carlin said that throughout the season they just learned to play tough football and play to their opponent's level. And I think they're going to try and keep that same mentality there. And I think this could be, they could still shock a lot of people. It's definitely going to be a tougher task than it was last week against Thatcher. But, I think they're game. I think they're game for this opponent. And I think they're able to, put things into perspective here and really say that we have the chance to really shock a lot of people and show them what we're capable of. So I like the Gophers in this one. It's going to be a tough matchup, but I think if anything, this shows that they're able to play to any opponent's level and be the victors at the end of it.
So I feel like the key here is going to be Florence's offense. The defense is there. The defense has been there all season long. And going back to their regular season matchup, Florence was only down 3 points going into the fourth quarter. So it was up until that fourth quarter when things started to fall apart, and that was because of the offense. The offense fumbled the ball, and Pusch Ridge ran it back 96 yards to score. So the key here is offense. Can the offense continue on its upward trend of limiting those mistakes and being able to capitalize when they have the ball? Looking at Pusch Ridge, last time they met, they saw both quarterbacks in MJ Bunker and Rayce Panino. Since then, Panino has kind of taken over that sole starting quarterback position. He has over 1,400 passing yards, 17 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions. So this is going to be key here, just trying to capitalize on defense. Wyatt Stenson be one of those guys who's really good at intercepting the passes and getting the ball for Florence. Overall, I really don't know what to make of this game. I feel like it really could go either way depending on which team has that momentum. Moving over to our next game, and that is in the 4A conference. Number 12, Waddell, ALA West Foothills at number 5, Combs. Combs is coming off that bye, like we mentioned, a much needed bye. David, what are you kind of hoping for from this Coyotes team?
Yeah, you mentioned that bye week was really needed, and it really was. And like you mentioned with the Florence game, it's about health and getting teams, ready to go. And plus, the defense has been the standard bearer for Combs throughout their entire season. Their defense has been the ones that kind of get this team moving. They're really like the lifeblood of this team. The question's going to come down to the offense. Can the offense score? And that's where a lot of the health concerns come from this offense. Cannon Hale's been dealing with an injury at quarterback. Branson Moak has been dealing with an injury at running back. So those are the top 2 guys that you're going to look for to make your offense move, and they're going to have to be ready to play. And I think this bye week was a huge step for them to get to that health point that where they can, play at their full strength, and they're going to have to play at their full strength throughout the rest of the year because, a lot of teams are looking at Combs now as a real threat. They can't, sweep under the radar anymore. They have to show that they're capable of this. And, they ended their season on a 3-game win streak, so they still have a lot of momentum even with all those injuries here, but it's going to come down to, are those guys healthy and are those guys ready to play on the big stage? Because this is the real moment for Combs to really establish themselves as a real threat here. And I think this is just the first step in what could be a state championship run. But we also saw in their track record that going up against some really top teams they're going to have to beat in the playoffs, they kind of crumble a little bit. So this is the first real test for them to see what they're made of. And if they're able to do that, if they're able to get past that hump, I think they'll have a good chance here. But it's just going to come down to, is the defense going to stay the same? Is the offense going to rise to the occasion? And is their health going to be a concern here?
So looking at ALA West Foothills, they made it to this game after defeating number 21 Buckeye Yunker 40-0 last week, and the big success for ALA West Foothills here is their run game. That's what they live by. Running back Kenyon Rosenthal has over 200 carries, almost 1,500 rushing yards, and 18 touchdowns. So we've talked about Combs' defense. Combs' defense has been phenomenal. Guys like Van Merkley, Levi Anglin, Sam Pearson. Sam Pearson, aside from Florence's Zayden Cundiff, I feel like these two guys are the top defenders in all of Pinal County. Sam Pearson for Combs, 65 tackles, 21 sacks, and just overall the team has 91.5 tackles for a loss. So this is going to be key here in trying to slow down Rosenthal and just kind of limit how long ALA West Foothills has the ball in their hands. Like we mentioned all season long, if you're a running team, you're going to eat up a whole lot of clock. And for Combs, that's the big question here. How are they going to counterattack ALA West Foothills' running game? If they have a healthy Cannon Hale, then hey, they are capable of throwing the ball because they're going to have Skylar Lawrence as a wide receiver. If Skylar Lawrence is playing quarterback, that limits you on who is able to go downfield and make those plays. One of those guys so far has been Alan Chaparro. He has also been equally as effective on defense. So a lot of questions coming into this game. The biggest one, like David mentioned, is health. What is this Combs team going to look like? As always, be sure to check out Pinal Central to see how these two games turn out.